In order, we'll start with pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Justin.
Jeremy McCart,
Here.
Bernie Paparad,
Here.
Roseanne Bozak,
Here.
Travis Dunlap, another one, and Gordon McCormick, Aaron Adcock.
Here. Approval of minutes, June 3rd, 2024. Motion second,
Second.
discussion. Roll call, Jill.
Bernie Paparad,
Yes.
Roseanne Bozak,
Yes.
Aaron Adcock,
Yes.
Jeremy McCart.
Yes. Did you have any other communication in regards to the May
Did not.
6th minutes?
He
Okay.
never responded.
Approval of minutes from May 6th, 2024.
So moved.
Second. A motion and a second, discussion. The only thing I would add is that I believe Jill reached out to Gordon, who had an issue last month with the minutes, however, we didn't get any communication back from him. I reviewed the statements and they seem pretty accurate. Roll call, Jill.
Bernie Paparad,
Yes.
Roseanne Bozak,
Yes.
Aaron Adcock, Jeremy McCart.
Yes. Communication bills and expenditures, time code updates.
Nothing.
Nothing. Portal officers, committee and staff. Bernie. Maybe, not really. Clay. No. Awesome. Preliminary hearing, Provident Realty Advisors Incorporated, leaf law rezoning petition. Good evening. Good evening.
My name's Todd Lee. I'm here on behalf of the petitioner in this matter, Provident Realty Advisors. Nick Ferris from Provident is here as well. And we also have Denisa and George there on the team as well. George is an engineer, Denisa is project manager for this. There is a proposal for approximately 102 acres. Worthington Steel currently owns the property. It's on the west side of Adcock Road. We filed a petition to rezone the property for the end use that we would like to put the property to is as a data center. Your zoning ordinance doesn't cover data centers. Not surprisingly, a lot of zoning ordinances with changing times and technology and so forth aren't so specific. So I worked with your staff and Attorney Patton, and we filed to rezone the property to a new special district, which we've proposed and worked with Attorney Patton as well. That creates a new special district number 8. You have 7 original special districts, and this would be the 8th one. For technology uses, and data centers would be allowed under that technology use. It's got its own special restrictions for some concerns that you might have or any technology use might have with regard to buffering and screening and so forth. So our request is to rezone that 102 acres to the new special district 8. We filed the petition. I think the petition is in order, and that's the purpose of tonight's consideration, is to make sure that our petition is not lacking in any legal requirement for us to move forward to a hearing next month. Happy to answer any questions.
Anybody?
Don't have any questions.
I do. Have you checked with, I know where the property's at, I've looked at it, about with NIPSCO, about getting power to this, cause I've heard that they're really, so they suck a lot of power, put it that.
The reason we're there is because of
It's a
NIPSCO.
high tension line.
Exactly. The exact reason why this property is so important for our proposed purpose is the access to that power. And so the answer to your question is, not only have we talked to NIPSCO, but we've got agreements in principle in order to use their power and so forth. So yes.
Okay. I got one other thing about infrastructure to get back into the property, because some of that road isn't ours, right? North Babcock on the north end is in Porter.
Right, by the hotel.
By the hotel.
And this, that little part of the road there.
It's still a house road.
Right.
I'm not saying that, all they wanna know is how are they planning on using it to get in there? You know,
I don't know what the construction traffic would be. We can only control, what we can control. But we can certainly control our own employees and we can control our contractors during construction to provide for any special routing that the town may require. So we can control those things.
Shem, did you have something?
Right, and Mr. Paparad, I believe the roadway, the center line is the corporate limit, but the town received the funds to actually maintain that road. So that even though it's the center line, corporate line, but the town is actually responsible for that roadway.
Yeah, because since it's the eastern border, the municipality on the west.
yes, I realize that.
Yeah, so we're responsible for the whole, even like a driveway permit on the east side would be our responsibility.
Okay, then one other thing, have you talked to anybody about the road cut off of 20? You know, they're making everybody else put in other stuff,
They don't, the property doesn't border. I don't.
but to get to it does.
From Babcock Road,
Yes,
22, you're talking about the traffic that we want to. I'm sure during the engineering, there will be a lot of traffic study and, the site plan itself will be probably showing the amount of traffic that is gonna go there. And if there's an end, I'm sure will be notified of the amount of traffic.
I got one other thing that.
Good shoe, man.
You told me.
I don't see any concept designs about where you're planning on placing buildings in that. We're supposed to just give you a rubber stamp about we'll rezone it.
So this is the first of many, many steps, I suspect with you. But the first step is, can we use it for a data center? And then the next step is, how do we use it? Where's the buffer yards? We're gonna have very tight security with fencing. We have to have that. That's just a requirement of the use. And the customers, our clients that are going to be tenants of the data center, they require that heightened security. All of those things have to go into a site plan, which George is gonna prepare for you and the engineer, and we're going to go through that in strict detail. I know that.
Site plan for the public hearing to rezone.
So we're going to have a concept plan.
Okay,
We have a block plan that shows, oh, we're gonna have a building here and a building there. But we've got two different iterations, and you'll probably see two different iterations when we get to the public hearing with a lined site plan, a concept plan. I don't want to be held to it because we got to engineer it. So if we tell you we're gonna put a building 50 feet from the property line and we go out and do soil borings and find out that there's muck in that particular corner, we're gonna have to move that.
okay,
So we can show you the concept, but we're only going to be held to the requirements of your ordinance. So if you think that there's something that we should be doing that we're not doing or not showing on that concept plan, let's put it in that ordinance so that it's a requirement, it's law, and you can deny a building permit if we don't do what you think is important.
okay. The only thing I'm gonna want to say is that next month, when we're doing this public hearing,
Yep,
you're probably not gonna have another space in this room. You've already been through this once in Nebraska, right?
we understand.
Same people. So as soon as this gets out, they're gonna know, and they're gonna wanna know what it's somewhat gonna look like.
Right, so here's one of the challenges. There's a pipeline that runs through the property. And we think today, we're gonna reroute that pipeline. So we can put buildings kind of where we want to, and the pipeline's gonna go along the perimeter. But the cost may be prohibitive, or British Petroleum, BP, may say, we don't want you to. So we're gonna have to leave the pipeline where it's at. And so that's gonna change the configuration. That's why I'm saying that the concept plan that I bring to you at the hearing can't be etched in stone.
I guess just to interrupt, I understand where he's coming from, but I understand, like, you want some kind of idea of what we're looking at, and I think that's what they're willing to provide.
Yeah,
Because I think we're still gonna have input, because there's still be a site plan review that has to be
Oh.
done, which fortunately this board does.
I'm not worried about the site plan myself, but I know people are gonna come to this meeting
And ask questions
and
that we
ask
potentially don't have any.
and say, you can't, don't just rezone and not have any idea what's going in.
But I feel like it's our job as the commission in answering those questions is to making sure the public is aware why we have a concept plan at this point. Not everybody comes to meetings and understands the process. A lot of people just think you snap your fingers and boom, we got a target. That's not how it works. We know that, not everybody knows that. So I think that is our job to make sure that we're answering those questions.
and that's my request of you is trust your ordinances. Because your ordinances, if you do it right, can hold our feet to the fire. We've drafted, Mr. Patton and I, working together, drafted this new district. It's got performance standards in there. If you think there's something that should be in there that I didn't put in or Mr. Patton didn't put in, let's put it in. Because we're willing to do the things that are necessary to alleviate the concerns. The fear, we can't address the things that aren't real, but the things that are real, we can address and we can solve. And I just ask you guys to hold our feet to the fire, but also when we do get to the public hearing, recognize that what we do at then and for the zoning is the first step. There's a lot of engineering that's got to go into this site before the first permit is issued or shovel of dirt turf. And that's where, frankly, in my opinion, the rubber meets the road. Is that level of detail that we're not gonna have in the next 75 days. We'll get it there. We'll have that engineered detail when we get the zoning approved, if that's the wishes of the town. But we can't solve all of the questions or answer all of the questions as to how high the fence is gonna be and what's the setback gonna be. Those are things that are come at the next step, if you will. And like Roseanne said, we all know that. And we can say it, but we're just, I'm just a lawyer and I get paid to lie, apparently. And that's, the perception. And I'm not gonna tell it to you or to anyone else if it isn't the truth. But if it comes from you guys, it carries some weight. And so trust your ordinance and tell the citizens at the hearing that the ordinance has a process. And you can hold our feet to the fire and make us do the things we say we're gonna do. You can do that, and you can. You just have to be clear that that's what's gonna happen.
One other thing, we're just making a recommendation to the town council.
Absolutely.
So the procedure would be,
Say yay,
would set it for a public hearing for the August 5th.
okay,
And at the August 5th, we would.
The result would either be a favorable or a.
And have the public
Adversarial.
okay, I just wanted to get that out in the open, in the minutes, that we're not the one doing the rezoning.
No, you would make a recommendation to the town council, and it's up to the by council members. Whether or not to,
They can be in the hot seat, not us.
I highlighted all that.
Huh?
I highlighted that.
Exactly, so.
Yeah, so basically what we're, in my opinion, what we're here, like, I went through everything. In chapter 14 that obligates what the planning commission to do. Is basically as long as all the documentation that we've been provided is in order. It's up to us to set this for public hearing. Now, Clay, will we be looking for two separate public hearings, one for. The zoning and one for the ordinance?
yeah, that makes more sense because that you would be creating a new zoning district.
Right, so technically there could be two public hearings at the next
Yeah, 'cause-
meeting if we so choose to do that.
Conceivably, you know, this is zoning district for the town as a whole. And then you would be recommending an ordinance to change this specific piece of property to that new district.
All right, then, on the one about us changing, putting a new deal in here, we're gonna have to go to a preliminary hearing first. And,
No, this is the preliminary hearing for both requests. Both
Okay.
requests are in tandem, so. The public hearing or hearings would be for the two-step process. One, to create a new zoning district. If we're gonna have data centers in this town, this is what we want. The requirements to be with this ordinance that's been presented. And then if we get over that hurdle and we are creating this new special district 8,
okay,
then this parcel on the northwest corner of Paglen and Babcock, we're recommending to the council to rezone that parcel to this SD 8.
That's,
Well, we would, I mean, as far as for zoning, yes, we would be the board of authority for that. I shouldn't say authority, we would be reviewing it and making a recommendation to the town council. And then it is at their feet to make the decision whether or not they accept our recommendation.
it's actually all that code language, it was in the email for adding it to the code.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that everything was, because we haven't had a zoning change anytime recently at all, so.
Recommendations.
yes, I got one question. Is it only for the property that they want to purchase, the 102 acres? Is that all we're gonna change in this? The rest of it, what it's on now, is gonna stay what it's
When
on?
you say the rest of it, I'm not sure what you mean, but this is.
Does their property take in all that residential zone right there? Understand what I'm talking
It's
about?
a 102 acre parcel, the whole thing would be zoned for that, so. I believe that questions that we had before when Gordon and I had spoke with them. Was that. That property wouldn't be subdivided, this literally their development would take up that entire parcel, as far as like, they wouldn't be. Building other buildings for other purposes or anything else, that would be the specific use.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but if there's. I should, if I had a zoning map here. Is there any other thing over there? Besides, how far back to your property go?
I think all the way to the railroad tracks.
So,
So I don't care that one, I'm caring,
This,
okay. That's all I was
Yeah,
thinking
it's
about.
residential open space.
So it's gonna take care of all of that. Right there.
I've got the assessment, once I pulled up and there's a few different parcels, but the one that's right on the corner of Babcock and Haglin looks like it's. How many acres is that,
I don't know, there's
but there's.
4 or 5 parcels.
Yeah, there's this,
Yeah,
so there's a few different parcels, but they're all currently owned by Worthington Steel.
okay. All right, that's all I was trying to figure out, is it, we're
Right.
just recommending that just that parcel gets changed.
Exactly, so the zoning text change applies throughout the town. But nobody else answer, asking to be changed to that,
Okay.
except us,
Okay,
just for that 102. Exactly right.
okay.
Todd, quick question, this parcel that's right there on the, I guess, the northeast portion that's right by the railroad tracks. The records show it's owned by NIPSCO.
And that's wrong.
That's
Okay.
correct.
That's part of our.
Okay, yeah, the county shows that it's owned by.
Yeah,
NIPSCO.
So where that NIPSCO station is, that's not owned by NIPSCO?
No, that, it used to say US government.
The one that says US government is the one that's owned by Worthington.
That's something like-
Okay, so the one that says US.
Yeah.
We got a lot of people talking, and we're trying to take minutes, so.
Sorry. There's a parcel in the northeast that's notched out. That used to say it was owned by the USA.
Okay,
It is owned by NIPSCO.
I wasn't sure the map you were showing there, but this shows very clearly the property they're looking at. This little notch out here. On the assessor side, it says US government, I think something like that, United States of America, I think, but this is actually the NIPSCO parcel where the power line is.
yeah, this is.
So just really the red parcels. This is not.
Okay, it's been correct here.
You know.
That is.
You know, basically.
On the website, it's not corrected, but we actually have the deeds.
Okay,
Well, it's showing it as NIPSCO.
Okay, so they corrected it then very recently.
The title company reached out to the county. And they were gonna change it.
Yeah, so it looks like they're all over it and they fixed it there.
okay.
Cause this is just stuff people are gonna ask when they come, not, it is meeting.
No, and we'll have more information then too.
Okay.
So we understand. Yeah.
Aaron, do you have any more questions regarding this?
Well, I guess not related to the zoning, there'll probably be questions later. I mean, is Provident. Are you guys gonna, if this all goes through and build a data center, are you gonna be the operators of it, or you're more just the investors that are gonna get it built and then turn it?
They're the developer, they'll buy the property, build a data center and create the infrastructure, and then they lease the.
But they'll maintain ownership of it. Because I've run into situations with clients of mine, for example, that, get approached by solar companies to put panels on the farm, and then as soon as the deal's done, they bail, and the person that comes on and operates, it doesn't necessarily follow all the agreements that were put in place, and you're kind of stuck. So is this something where we're just getting through that process, and then we don't know who's gonna come in later to?
So it's two things. One, Provident will continue to build and develop and operate this. That's the intent. Number two, if there's something that we're promising, it ought to be in the ordinance or in our commitments so that our subsequent buyers have to live up to something that we promised to you. That's just understood.
And do you have like other ones that you've done that we can follow a pattern to see kind of how that went? Timing and everything, it's just the first one you're getting into.
Yeah, no, so you can go to our website and see the developments that, that Providence developed 20 years ago. Those were the first iterations of the dot-com boom. These are new iterations of data centers. So we are currently building, how many data centers are we building?
Quite a few, actually, probably one of the biggest in the country. We're in the process of developing. And the other important thing too is that we also have partners. It's not just Provident that's involved in these. We have some partners who've been really knee deep in this market and this new wave of data centers coming in. And we do have other partners that are in with Provident as well. So it's.
So artificial intelligence is creating the need for more data centers, nationally, internationally. So that's kind of why you're seeing and hearing about data centers. Northwest Indiana is well positioned for data centers because of its proximity to a hub in Chicago. So that's kind of why it's a thing, if you will, now. But data centers have been around. Both of my sons are in the technology industry, and there's the saying, it's all cloud computing and all of that. Well, there is no such thing as the cloud. The cloud is somebody else's computer. And that somebody else's computer are data centers. Provident is a major national real estate developer. They do all sorts of projects in all sorts of markets. They have a data center division within their company. So this is not a new thing. It's not their first rodeo, as George said.
Yeah, I would just like to point out that Property Realty Advisors, funded by Leon Backus 35 years ago, historically, in the range, I'm gonna give you approximate numbers, maybe 6 billion historic volume, $2.9 billion in assets under management. So really a gold standard developer on multiple platforms, multiple levels, multiple builds in multiple states. So we have the capability to develop whatever asset class we want to develop.
Again, don't take our word for it. Make us put it in writing, make it part of the ordinance. We'll sign commitments that go with the land and are binding upon not just us, but anybody that we would sell to. We're not trying to pull a fast.
Mr. President.
And what,
Sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna ask if it's easier actually if it's specific to this land only, and I'm not quite sure if it's being talked about, or maybe there is an answer. Maybe a PUD process might be a best solution to this, instead of it is a rezoning in a way, but.
Yeah.
We explored that,
Okay.
as an option, but because it's not gonna be separate uses within the same parcel or parcels. This proposal, I think, that after discussions with Attorney Lee, we felt was best.
That was probably our original thought, but
Yeah.
this is what we've ended with. It's the best solution for the town's ordinance.
Because even with the PUD, if we did a PUD, you still need to create some sort of requirements.
Of a site plan, so.
Well, for their intended use for a data center. Have you been on the emails to get a copy of what's been proposed as far as the?
I don't
We
think
need
so,
to,
but
Tina, can you make sure that Shem gets that, just so you can see some of the development standards with regards to
sure.
data centers as a whole?
You went through this.
Thank you.
Can you talk briefly about, the job development and just different benefits for the town? We're gonna have the traffic and things like that, just so we have it all in minutes. I know we've all been briefed a bit on a few things, but.
So I'll try, I'll start off and I'm gonna let, I think probably George has got some better details and hard numbers. So when we figure out what the parameters of the property are and the pipeline, relocating the pipeline will probably allow a greater square footage development in the property overall. There's going to be, I'm just gonna turn it over to you, let you know how many buildings and how many employees per building, because you've got those numbers.
Yeah, so right now we're looking at 5 buildings, I think is what we're looking at on this parcel. There'd be a substation, a switch station that comes with that. The buildings that we have, it's very low generation of traffic. There is probably about 30 employees per building. So, and for 100 acres, 5 buildings, it's just not, doesn't generate much traffic, particularly compared to a retail center or even a single family development. It's really low usage when it comes to those aspects. Another thing that we've spoken about, quite regularly is that the demand on the police, demand on fire is pretty much negligible because the security that you have on these facilities. We were actually just over by Starbucks, just down the road over here, and the small data center down the road. And we were just laughing at how many cameras were on this thing, right? It's you could do a movie production with all the cameras they have on it. And, but also from a fire suppression standpoint, these facilities are, it's top notch as they come. There's a huge investment that goes into those. And they take every precaution, multiple levels of it to make sure that these things are going to be safe and such. So really demand on the city services are pretty, that they come to play.
what kind of benefits to the town for bringing a data center into Burns Harbor?
Well, we could probably tag team this one, but really there's high paying jobs that come into play, just strictly in the data center. I mean, it's, I think on the low end, it's probably 85K. And then you got 6-figure salaries that come into play, but the other benefits that come in is all the ancillary benefits to the town as well. You have contractors that come in, you have to do maintenance on these facilities, just the services that come with it, which add to the town. There's studies that we can share with you that kind of really show and really detail what the benefits of data center are with communities. And it's off the charts. I mean, when I first got into this business, I couldn't really believe it. It just seemed like a fairy tale, to be honest with you, with how much it came in. But these are independent studies that have looked at the real benefits of data centers, and the tax benefits are significant. One anecdote I'd like to say with these is really regarding schools. I mean, and the school tax that you get, the school tax that are available. I know recognize there's certain tax collection regulations with how much you can collect, right, based on assessed value, but one study showed that you get enough tax for just for the school, forget the other ones, enough to build a new elementary school every year, right? Just so you can kind of get your arms around it. And it's mind-boggling. And so those benefits that can come to the city through that tax revenue are really off the charts. And most communities are really excited to come in, especially with a quality developer like Provident, because there's developers, like everyone knows, and there's developers that people shy away from. And you can look up on Provident, these are definitely one of the good guys. I'm not just saying that because my client, but it's they're gonna do what they say they're gonna do, and quite frankly, then some. And
just to add quickly, that's another really big benefit to the community in terms of infrastructure. So the fiber connectivity would improve because these kinds of facilities pull in and establish new fiber routes, for example. Roads get improved because the traffic, even though it's minimal, needs to be baked out correctly and updated. In terms of power, you were right, that, these kinds of facilities, they eat up a lot of power, but there's a lot of effort that gets put to negotiate with, to ensure that the power that actually gets consumed by this building or multiple buildings, because it will be a campus, would actually not at all tamper the power that is already there for the community. It's an addition to, that's why there's this full negotiation that has to happen with the power companies to ensure that the power that is already available to the community does not get impacted, is adding on. So that's another big factor.
It's a meritorious cycle that builds on itself, so you'll have people 20 to 30 direct badged employees making 6 figures working in your community. Then you'll have the people that have to service, work there, you'll have the security guards there, low impact, there's no heavy trucks, minimal impacts on the schools, so from what we've seen, and we've been developing properties for a long time, the tax revenues that are generated from this, when you compare the impact to the community, incredibly low. So what I mean by that low is the cost benefit high on the taxes, low on the impact of the community. So it's a virtuous cycle that builds on itself. You'll have high paying jobs here that greatly benefit the community from a tax standpoint. And then, it's up to you guys to figure out whatever you want to do with the taxes, but that's not, but we're here to, I just want to make a note that we're committed to Burns Harbor, we're committed to Northwest Indiana, we're committed to Houston Union Labor. We really want this to be a great representation of us and you. That's something that everyone can be proud of.
The only other thing, I've been back there and looked, and I knew that you had the infrastructure for the electric there already with the power lines. I think they came out of Babytown and went south, and now they're probably just turning around and go into your property right there. I mean, the big high tension right up in the corner, right? So there's cables, you know, it's gotta be plenty of power for it right there.
Well, we're making sure that there is, you know, we're making sure that it all is in line.
Okay.
Anything else from the board?
I would like to make a motion to set a public hearing, two public hearings for the August fifth meeting, one for the zoning district. And dependent on that one, a second hearing for the rezoning of that district,
Not that first.
of that parcel, I'm sorry. Words.
I'll second.
Repeat it all.
Any discussion? Roll call, Jill.
Aaron Adcock,
Yes.
Bernie Paparad,
Yes.
Roseanne Bozak,
Yes,
Jeremy McCart.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. That goes to new business.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Under, moving on to new business, this says review of bonds, maintenance guarantees, letters of credit. We do not have a current bond sheet available, so we're gonna move on from that one. Next thing under new business, Martin Naya, looking for a permanent extension of 1182 Salt Lake Road.
Yeah, just
Mr. Naya. I had. Has everybody had an opportunity to look at the extension? I guess my first concern is we didn't allow this length of time in the past because we can't issue a building permit from our building department to exceed 12 months, so I don't know how we can grant an 18-month extension. That's something that we don't have the ability to do for that length of time.
Well, the problem is, I've been having a hard time to put people to work with.
Right.
It's hard to find people. But there's been a lot of problems to hire people because I don't see my wants to work, and sometimes they just say they want to show up at work and they never show up, so I can't do nothing in the house. Can't do anything all by myself, you know, just, I'm trying to do my best, you know. It's only myself sometimes. And doing little by little, and that's what I can do. That's why I asked you for a extension to see if I can get it done. Because I only guys the second floor to be done. The first floor is done already. The fourth and the basement is already done, so it's not up to me. It's hard to find people.
And he's asking for how much longer?
It says estimate date of completion November 30th of 2025.
And how long has the work been going on already at this property?
I think it's about 2 years.
I guess I'm just curious as to why it will take 18 months to find people to work. Like, where are you getting this timeline of 18 months from? What is gonna take 18 months?
Well, to get done whatever it needs to get done, because I mean, I have people already there lined up. But I hope they don't make up on me. And this is supposed to start anytime like next month. But I can't start any.
Well, I think we definitely need to be less than 18 months.
Yeah.
Well, I-
Need to put that here for sure.
Short of rewriting town code, we cannot
Yeah,
approve
yeah,
this for 18 months.
Yeah, like we,
And we've been messing with this house for how long back there? At least how, can I ask a question?
You go right ahead, you have the floor.
How long have you owned this house?
I think it's 1 to 3 years.
So you bought it we're talking about the Picorni house?
Yeah.
The one with the chopped off corner?
Yeah, the one directly north
Right.
of the express.
Okay, so we've been messing with this. Not 2 or 3 years, but more than that, and it's not had one stick of anything basically done to it. And everything, and are you just trying to hire guys off the street to come in there?
No. The people that used to work with me, they not have a street. They hiring people who really knows what they're doing. good carpenters, but sometimes they're too busy or they just. It's not after me, I mean, I cut down already the whole basement, the foundation is done, second floor is done, so all I need to do is cut out the roof and start on the second floor.
All right, I've got a question for you guys, and I don't know. If we don't allow him to do this, what's the consequences to him?
Well, it's consequences and
Yeah, it's a negative both ways.
you have
because,
decided property that you're putting there,
Right.
it's not.
I mean, ultimately, we wanna get it done and get progression, but. I mean, not on an unlimited timeline.
Right.
I mean, flat out, I'm just gonna tell you that this board doesn't have the authority to give you an 18-month extension. For the work that you're looking to do,
Mhm.
the town only, per code, only allows you to have a 12-month permit from the giddy-up. So I couldn't extend it for 1.5 times the allowable amount, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah,
You're asking for an amount of time that I just don't have the authority to give you under any circumstance.
it's,
Because you could only get a permit up to 12 months. So asking for,
this is why if I get a permit for at least 12 months, I mean, I would try to do my best. I have a person who's gonna be helping me. I hope, back on it, he's gonna be able to get done in 2 weeks. The whole second floor, after that, I mean, we'll go first. It's only a rough carpentry in the second floor, and the rest of it, goes first. Electricity and plumbing and all that stuff, will go first. That's the only concern about the rough carpentry, that's a problem. And right now it's hard for me to find that kind of people. I can do it myself, I mean, I know that's what I do, that's what I've been doing for my life. Carpentry and can do it myself. If I get a permit for the 1 whole year, and it will be nice.
I don't know what to do.
I don't know.
I don't know what to do to regulate it, because we've been messing with it. I feel like asking for that amount of time is showing a lack of push of you wanting to hurry up and get it done. Saying today that you still need 18 months is telling us that you're just gonna drag it on for 18 more months. That's the way that it's, because we've been looking at it. I don't mean that any disrespect to you by that. I just, from what we're looking at on paper, we just keep dragging this out and dragging this out. And I understand you're having issues finding people to work and getting the work done. I just don't know what we need to do here as a board to help and get this moving along. I don't have a hammer, so.
The extension for the permits, what am I gonna do with the permit? And then it's gonna stay that way it is, I mean, I need to get it done. I can't do anything without.
Guarantee you don't stay there, because we'll.
You set like a X amount of progress has to be done, but I mean.
You could have to come back every meeting or every other meeting to just have him report on what the progress is. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. McGraw, but when you were the building commissioner, I believe we started the process for condemnation, and then it was sold to this gentleman.
Correct.
And so even the prior owner had issues in
Getting it finished.
So I don't know what it is about this property, but based on the type of work that you want done, you can find those contractors to come out. I don't know if it's an issue with regards to money or your time. But those type of smaller general contracting, I mean, there's houses that are built in less than 1.5 years, whole houses. So why is remodeling gonna take that long? I don't understand either. I don't know why, some of that remodeling couldn't be done in 90 days.
Yeah, because I had about 3 contractors and they come here and they see it and they're supposed to go back and they're coming back and there's other things, like they're supposed to bring a bid and call them back and they never answer. That's a problem. I tried to do it myself and I still have any workers. That's it's a problem, it's not a. Want to get it done, you know, I mean, because my house is how they getting to move in, you know.
And that's my. I can't make the motion, but I think what makes sense here to me is to. Set a timeline, whether that may be 6 months. Or, I mean, that's through the end of the year, that's the full weather, it's for us to be able to see,
Well, 6 months would be January.
right,
Okay.
so.
But I would have him come in.
But in January, if we haven't seen any kind of progress, I mean, what's the purpose of continuing to just give an open-ended permit? If it's not gonna get done, because we're just gonna be here in a year from now.
Yeah,
If I just give them 12 months and,
yeah,
or if this board just did. Then I think we're in the same spot, and if we don't see progress in 6 months, I think then we don't extend it, and you have a house that you can't get a permit for. And something has to be done, because right now there's no viable solution, but 18 months,
No.
that's not like, I won't vote for that, you won't have a majority here, so you guys can.
I don't think you'll have anything for that. I would just say, let's. We got the acting. You wanna do it on a 6 months, and every 2 months, we have to have a report from the building commissioner. And you come here and give us a progress report. Yeah. I mean, that's what's it. You know, I'm just saying, we have to see some progress
we
going
have
on.
to see some progress.
And
Have to see some
everything, so
progress.
if we do 6 months, and every 2 months. You have to have a building commissioner's. Report,
That you're doing work.
and that you're making progress in doing work on this house. And that, cause at the end of 6 months, if we haven't seen anything. I think we're. All pretty much in agreement that.
That's how it be,
Yeah,
So 6 months where we have to check in every other month? Or you don't want them to check in until January? I want them
No,
to check in next month.
You wanna do it every month?
we got a lot going on next month.
Yeah,
let's-
every
let's-
other month.
Like, you
I
want to
think
hire a
that's
contract,
what
it's gonna take some
But
time.
I understand that we're stretched thin, so if we can make every other month, I certainly don't
Every
wanna
other-
wait till January.
Up to 6 months.
Does that seem like something that you could comply with as far as like, we ask you to come back every 2 months? Okay.
September, November, and January.
That way we can
Yes.
make sure that progress is happening. I mean, it's not only for you, for the community, but also all the neighbors around that house. I'm sure they'd like to see it get done too.
Mhm.
So he's gonna
If
have,
if it was my house next to me, I'd want it done.
I'd be here screaming.
It's also a house that everybody sees when they drive down I-94. It's just that.
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
I mean, it'd
you
be,
want, you want
be
to have
awesome
a
to get
motion?
so is he,
Yeah,
are
abs-
we gonna, okay, go ahead, make a motion, I'll ask that question.
We'll need a second.
So did you make a motion? or did you-
No, we'll make it on a 6 month renewal. Every 2 months, he has to have a report from the building commissioner, whoever that may be. And come here, and you come here, and we'll see what progress you make. Anything else?
No, you answered my question, it's a motion, I'll second that.
okay, motion second, discussion. I'll basically add that I would assume that upon that 6 months, then we would be potentially willing to extend that up to a year without him having to pay a fee again, because this fee would cover him for up to a year.
If there's
If there's
progress.
progress.
Okay, I just wanted that clarification, because I mean, this fee that he's now paying of $100
Okay,
Right,
could potentially give him up to that year, so, you know, we were willing to consider that, but we want to see progress. I don't want it to sit there for 11 months and then you do some work for a month.
yeah,
That's not what we're looking for.
progress. Progress.
Roll call, Joe.
Aaron Adcock,
Yes.
Bernie Paparad,
yes,
Roseanne Bozak,
Yes.
Jeremy McCart.
Yes.
okay, so I will be able to get those firms on.
Yeah, so what we're gonna do is we will notified the building department that we've approved this conditional 6-month extension. And then if your permit application, if everything else is, they can reissue the permit.
Okay, so.
So, I mean, you probably wanna give us about 24 hours, I mean, that way we can notify them and they can get everything in order.
Okay, so this permits will be, this extension will be for 6 months, right?
Correct.
They are able to come report like every 2 months, so.
September, November,
But-
January.
So it's a 6-month extension, but the motion was that conditionally, we need to be updated every 2 months of the progress during that 6 months. Otherwise, at the end of the 6 months, I mean, if we don't have any progress, if we don't have any updates. I mean, the reality is, we're just not gonna give another extension, and it's just gonna be a horrible situation, because. You're gonna have a house that's not done, and we're not gonna be willing to work with issuing a permit for it. Like, cause right now, something's gotta get done.
Okay.
So, I think that's where we're at.
Can we have someone go do a walkthrough? Can we have Brandon go do a walkthrough so that way we know where we're at in 2 months?
How about we do the walkthrough prior to the next meeting? That way we have a current, like otherwise we're having a temporary building inspector or commissioner. Step in that spot when we're in the process of hiring another one, that then is gonna have to then see all that for himself. I think we're just making too many hoops.
I would recommend having either Brandon go now or Brandon with whoever you that is hired here in the short term to say, this is what it is. End of July, 1st of August. And so when he's back, and then they can go right after Labor Day and they can say, okay, this is what it is. This is our 2-month update in September, so we can see what's been done. Because otherwise, someone's gonna go in there and how do we know that, oh, all this has been, this and this has been done when
Yeah,
it hasn't.
if we don't look at it now, we're not gonna know in 2 months if we did anything in over those 2 months. That's all, I mean, understand that.
And then Brandon could walk the building commissioner through it and explain to him.
Can I take a picture?
Pictures, videos.
Yeah,
Notes.
Just
And
take a
that'd be
picture
part
of
of the
your work.
condition of the getting a permit, that's inspected before the permit is released, so they know where they're at.
how you want to do it.
If someone, well, I mean, we've already voted and approved it, we're gonna. Either amend that motion or make a whole nother one.
What if this person came to inspect it for a few weeks and now you're just.
You know, where's money, right?
Right, he's there every day, so that's not a problem.
He's gonna want to get a permit as soon as possible, so
Right.
I think
Do we
that process
do we
should
need
be
to
part
amend the
of.
motion? To
When
add
he
that, or
comes
is that
in
just
for
part of the,
permit,
isn't that part of the
Just
permit
that
process?
Brandon and go.
Basically, what we're discussing is that in order for you to obtain your permit, we would like to have our current acting building commissioner. Walk through the property to know the current status of all the ongoing work. That way we can set benchmarks every 2 months to know what's been accomplished. So I think in order to be able to obtain that permit, that our building commissioner is gonna be able to need to see the property. Is what we're requesting.
Want to amend the motion or?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll amend it that before you get a building permit, this building permit, that when you come in, take our acting building commissioner over and go through the building with him to show what a starting point is, so that we know in September how much has been done.
Oh, second.
Okay.
More discussion? Roll call, Jill.
Roseanne Bozak,
Yes.
Aaron Adcock,
Yes.
Bernie Paparad,
Yes.
Jeremy McCarg.
Yeah. Did you have any more questions, Mr. and I?
Yeah, so by when they gonna stop by and take a look at that?
Well, you'll need to contact our building department. And I'm sure you can schedule a time, that way we have somebody available and we know that you're available.
Tomorrow, so it might be later this week. Mr. Knapp, they're in a class tomorrow, so there's nobody available tomorrow.
So They will call me or?
If you give,
I would
Call or one.
I would call-
contact our building department and they'll contact you back and set up an appointment. Cause obviously there's no, it's not like we can just go to the house, there's not necessarily somebody there. So that way it's a time that works for you and for them.
Thank you.
Just like setting up any inspections that you've had to do, you'd have to contact them and they'll set it up.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Good to the order, any other business?
I don't know if it's good in the order or whatever. Okay, I've been looking at this and I talked to Brandon. I'm trying to build a garage. And I live in a SD 7.
Okay.
And from what I can see, I'm a permitted use in there. A single family dwelling in there. So if I'm building a house, not just a new garage, I'm gonna tear a garage down, put a garage up. Basically the same footprint on there. It says right there on that light industrial south, permitted use, and it says in other places that if you were there before this building ordinance, that it's a permitted use. Do I just go as a residential lot? I mean, I could make either one. I could make the SD. I've got plenty of land. You know, for setbacks and everything else.
So the property is currently zoned SD 6.
SD 6, right? And permitted use in an SD 6 also has a single family home in there.
So, but does SD 6, what does it say about accessory buildings?
I looked at all, it said there,
Well, hold on, that specifically, so if you, so are you tearing down an existing accessory building to put in another accessory building?
yes. There's already one there,
Which was obviously permitted
what it would do.
prior to that zoning district being created, correct?
Right.
You should have zero issues getting a permit for that.
Well, that's what I thought, but he was telling me I had to come, cause I put a shed there before and I had to come for a variance. But I thought we fixed that, so if you're in the zone and it's already there and it's been there, the house has been there since 1880 something. You know, I'm not too sure the garage has been, but.
So. For special use district for accessory buildings, as long as this accessory building isn't exceeding 80% of the square footage of. The ground floor of your residence.
I got it made.
That's, I mean, because it allows it under 1512-4A.
Okay. That's. Thank you.
The only other thing I would add to the present numbers, one. Is we're short of person still, which hopefully council will give us another member before the next meeting. And. We need to name a new vice president at the next meeting, so. Yeah, that's all I got, but I don't think it'd be appropriate to name a vice president with.
Or
Two, yeah, there's two more members that are here, we don't know if either of them would be interested in it or not, so I think. Waiting till the next month isn't gonna hurt us.
And I would suggest, Roseanne, have the vacancy be put on the council agenda for Wednesday night. Not that it necessarily needs to be filled Wednesday night, but so the council, including our fifth council member, can be involved in that discussion, decision making.
Okay. Look at that.
There's nothing else I'd entertain.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Discussion. Roll call, Jill.
Roseanne Bozak,
Yes.
Aaron Adcock,
Yes.
Bernie Paparad,
Yes.
Jeremy McCart.
Yes.